Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Jennifer Gill, and I am the Vice President of Marketing here at Skyhawk. And today we're going to talk about how to fight AI with AI. And we'll show you with our purple team how we predict the future and prevent the breach. So first on the agenda, I'll introduce myself and Jean Perry, who's doing the webinar with me today. We'll talk about who Skyhawk is, and we'll look at how threat actors use AI to get better, faster, and smarter in terms of how they attack your cloud. We'll talk about preemptive cybersecurity, and something that I've heard recently in my Gartner briefings where they talk about it's the only way to really fight AI-based attacks. We'll go through the Skyhawk Security platform. We'll tie back to those AI-based attacks and talk about how Skyhawk can help you. I'll turn it over to Jean for a demo. We'll talk about compensating controls, do a quick one-slide case study, and then talk about the next steps that are available to you if you'd like to move forward with Skyhawk. So first, my name is Jennifer Gill. I'm Vice President of Marketing here at Skyhawk. I've been in product marketing for over 25 years, but I have branched out into other areas, including content marketing, driving awareness, demand gen, and event marketing, and things like that. Jean, who has been my friend for 15 years, is our Director of Sales Engineering, and he has over 20 years of experience working with customers, help them take their technical requirements to meet their business objectives. And he's worked with cloud, on-prem, storage, cloud security, data, you name it, he's worked with it. So I'm very happy to have him here with me today. So who is Skyhawk? So Skyhawk is a company that delivers cloud security using AI-based cloud security, cloud threat detection and response through a purple team. So we have a global customer base. We have customers from the Fortune 100 to SMEs, and we work with anyone who has a cloud. If you have data that's in the cloud that needs to be protected, you should be working with Skyhawk. But we do find certain verticals work better with us. Not necessarily that they work better, but that they're more inclined to have cloud security as a priority. So those verticals, not surprising, finance, healthcare, manufacturing, and technology. We support the 3 major public clouds as well as Kubernetes, and we get a lot of awards and recognition. So we were a finalist for the first annual Cube Technology Awards this year. We were shortlisted and a finalist in the Cloud Security Awards this year as well. And last year we won the Cloud Security Awards for Cloud Security Innovator of the Year for our AI-based purple team. So how are threat actors using AI to get smarter? So there's 6 key things here. So the first 2 are involved around kind of tricking employees. So they're able to more accurately impersonate a human, whether that tricks a system or another employee at your company. They can improve lure believability. So it looks like it's an email from the CEO saying to click this link and fill out this form. And it improves attacker productivity. In our normal daily sales deck, actually, we have an example where it typically takes a threat actor to about 16 hours to create an attack that really works. With AI, they can get that down to 10 minutes. It's not even 5 minutes in some cases. So this is all they're using AI to get better, faster, smarter. They use it for multivariate attack methods. They can use large language models as a controller, and they can create novel attack types. So how do you defend against something that's completely unknown? That's very challenging. And where the cloud and AI collide, that really challenges cloud security teams because you need to have your cloud be accessible. It's a service. The service needs to be accessed by your employees so they can do their work, or by their customers so they can order product or work with you. And when these 2 things collide, it's like you want to lock it down, but it needs to be accessible. So how do you secure something that needs to be accessible? And then adding a layer on top of that is threat actors are using AI to get smarter and faster. So that collision really creates a security challenge. It's something that everyone is struggling with. When talking with Gartner, this is a quote that I stole from someone. So he said, look, preemptive cybersecurity is the only effective way to defend against AI-enabled attackers. So that was something that I heard that I thought I would shout out. And then if we look into the research from Gartner, you can see that by 2028, preemptive cybersecurity solutions will displace more traditional ones. You'll see AI be used to augment the response, incident response specifically, and it's not because they're trying to replace staff, it's because to augment. Every security team that we talk to has open recs. There's no one who has too many security people. And then lastly, AI can be used to increase SOC efficiency. And we're seeing that there's a shift in SOC expertise toward AI development just for maintenance and protection. Okay, and so here we have the overall proactive cloud security platform. So this is Skyhawk in one slide. There's a lot, so we'll go slow. So first we have in the center there, you see the layer 1, 2, and 3. That's our cloud threat detection and response. So it's 3 layers of AI, and I'll go into more detail on that on the next slide. So this is what's used to detect threats in the cloud. The purple team leverages that as the blue team in our analysis. So we have an AI-based red team that fights an AI-based blue team. This is done completely in our cloud environment. So there's no impact to your production. So it's done in a very safe way using simulation twin technology. Where the red team gets past the blue team, we prioritize those gaps based on the business value of the asset behind it. Now, because the platform has seen this attack before in the rehearsal, it knows that, gee, when I see these 8 steps, they got the next 2 were really bad. So now when I get to step 8, I know I want to raise an alert because I don't want them to get to steps 9 and 10. Those are the types of things that the platform's able to use because it's seen it before and can stop the threats. And then finally, it's able to create validated auto response and validated remediation because, again, it's been rehearsed. So it knows when I see this attack, I want this response from the platform, and I know it won't hurt my production environment because I've practiced it in this AI-based environment. So we talked about the 3 layers of AI within the cloud threat detection response. So this is basically the CDR. So there's 3 layers of machine learning models, and that ties to the first 2 things. And so the malicious and suspicious behavior indicators. So Skyhawk's global models are deployed on a daily basis, and they're updated every single day. And that's to create the malicious and suspicious behavior indicators. Those machine learning models then further sequence those malicious and suspicious behavior indicators. And once that sequence reaches a threshold, it's promoted to an alert. So some examples of machine learning models could be like for the user, role, or asset, there might be one that's around network traffic that monitors what network traffic each asset typically generates over the course of the day. So you can see the machine learning models are very, very granular so that we're able to look at the behavior and intent of all the activities and really say, hey, this is something that you should look at. So that's how the machine learning models correlate the malicious and suspicious behavior indicators and then further into a sequence. And you'll see what that looks like in the upcoming slides. The last part is where we incorporate generative AI into the cloud threat detection and response. So you'll see Security Advisor in the demo from Gene, but also it looks at the attack sequence and it's able to promote the attack sequence to an alert up to 78% faster without increasing false positives or false negatives. So that was announced in March of 23. We were one of the first organizations to incorporate large language models in that way. So, and then we have the purple team, as we mentioned, so I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. So first, it discovers the environment where all the crown jewel assets are. It analyzes the paths to those crown jewels. Then it simulates the attack against the blue team. It identifies posture gaps, generates automated response remediation. And then finally, those machine learning models that we just talked about, if it finds, gee, we need to detect this a little bit faster, it will update those models, which are tuned to each cloud's infrastructure. Okay. So how are the machine learning models created? So first, data sources and telemetry are pulled into the platform. So you can see you pull from everything. Guard duty can be a data source. And then the data is enriched and leveraged to build baseline behavioral models. And we talked about one of those. I can give you another example. For identity management, for example, there could be a model around API usage, which monitors which APIs each asset typically uses. So when they see an asset using an API it doesn't normally use, and it sees that happening over and over again, that could be one malicious behavior indicator. So then the output of those machine learning models is correlated. Each of these bubbles indicate a malicious behavior indicator and then the attack sequence. So I know it can be confusing when you're just talking about what this is. This is what we mean when we say attack sequence, and each of those nodes is a malicious behavior indicator. And then just to give you an example of the amount of data that the platform sorts through. So this is from one of our customers. So over 30 days, there were 60,000 interesting events in the logs and telemetry that were sorted through. And you can see here, it's things like Lambda, API calls, things like that. And then you can see there's some these are sorted into anomalies. So for example, first time usage of high risk actions by a role. So those are further sequenced. And then it goes in, the anomalies are put into the sequences. Then we get suspected alerts and then verified alerts. So if you were to tell your security team, you have 60,000 things and you have to find the 50 most interesting ones, or take those 60,000 things, determine if there are relationships, maybe, and then figure out what these really mean, that would be impossible and challenging. With Skyhawk, we do all that work for you. So you know what other 50 alerts that you should respond to. And so using the machine learning models and the AI, here is how Skyhawk is able to improve your cloud security. So the first two relate to the threat detection models. So we'll find a threat actor even if they're insiders. We actually had an example where we had a customer let us know that one of their employees who had access to their cloud, they were on the cloud dev team, they were allowed to do a few things, but they did things that were malicious and it was detected. The machine learning models look at improve your productivity against attacker productivity. And the same thing, those machine learning models are able to help combat the multivariate attack methods, as well as using large language models as a controller. It's going to create that attack sequence faster so that you can figure out, gee, this looks suspicious, I'm going to stop this activity. And then lastly, on the unknown unknowns. So we have a blog on our website. It's excellent if you want to check it out, which talks about how the threat detection models are able to find unknown unknowns. We're not looking for patterns. We're looking at the intent and the behavior and what's being done so that we can find what's happening in your cloud. So next up, we have a demo. So I'm going to turn it over to Gene, and he will walk you through the attack sequence. So I'm going to stop sharing. Gene, you should be able to share, and I'm going to go on mute.
Thanks, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. Give me a moment here to share my screen. We'll take a few minutes and walk through a couple of examples, both in our CDR, where we'll begin, and then moving over to the purple team, going through the details specifically of our AI red team and blue team.
I can see your screen.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, so let's dive right in here. You'll see that I'm in our platform here. Within our threat detection is where you'll see both our continuous 24/7 live CDR platform, as well as the purple team, both AI red team and blue team contained here. We're actually going to start, and I'll point out as we go, because our platform and architecture, if you recall the architecture slide that Jennifer showed you, where we're ingesting logs, going through 3 layers of machine learning AI, and constantly monitoring the environment, and then constantly also monitoring with our contextual virtual reality twin that we build of your cloud. The red team is constantly looking for exposed weaponized attack paths to enable where you could potentially have data exfiltration or data encryption enabled in the environment from malicious attackers. So let's begin here within the CDR. The first screen that I'm showing here is what we refer to as activities. You may know these as single events that you see here. These are not alerts. I point these out because we're literally looking at here that layer one of the architecture. This is where the raw logs start to become filtered from all the noise, and all the platform begins to show you here are the potentially anomalous and or suspicious events. We provide them here to you in the activities section from a visibility and observability perspective. You can see some of the forensics and details here that are provided within each of the activities. If we begin to move over to the alerts, this is where our alerts begin to, so everything you're seeing here is an actual alert. There could be different or multiple statuses to the alerts that you see here. New means that it's a qualified new alert. Pending is a pending alert is really an early warning status of an alert. The system hasn't reached a high confidence level that it should be a qualified alert, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. And then in process means a new alert that's been assigned to a threat hunter for additional research, and someone's taken ownership of it. So in fact, that's the one we'll take a quick peek at. The first thing you'll see within our alerts, Skyhawk will never issue an alert. You never see an alert from us with a single event. It's always a sequenced series of events that begin either with a user or an asset. In this case, you can see a user, and then step by step, the sequenced actions of that user moving through the environment. You'll see other things represented within the alert as well, both time gaps that could indicate dwell time, as well as in this case, you can see a new EC2 instance was instantiated by the user, and then multiple connections from that instance began to create additional threat vectors within that within the single alert. I can further expand the each event within the sequence, and you'll see how we contain within the alert. With every alert you get from Skyhawk, you'll have all of the forensics and details. In this case, you can see things like first time APIs, invoked APIs, invocation details, etc., etc. The other thing that I can do, I can certainly continue to move through the alert one at a time on each of these sequenced actions, or I can also switch over to our table view, which shows you and moves to a numerical table of those sequenced actions, beginning with the first, where I'll also see all of the forensic IOCs contained within the alert. As we move through here, you can see all those details. So again, this is where we're literally looking at layer two of that architecture slide that Jennifer showed earlier. We're in the sequencing stage. If we also, very quickly, if I step back to the timeline view, we can actually see here, you can see the where the system tagged at each stage in the sequence began to make it a pending alert. From an early warning perspective, this is the first time that the user would have had visibility by viewing your pending alert statuses. You can also see where about 20 minutes later in this example, the system actually qualified the alert as a new alert. And this is where you can start to see that second opinion, layer three of our architecture take effect, where the system goes out and using AI will query, in this case, hundreds of AI agents, security analyst base, describing the sequence to them and asking for their score on the maliciousness of this potential event. And this could either, based on all of those hundreds of responses from analysts, could either impact or raise the confidence of the system to release the alert earlier, or actually decrease it to hold it in the pending state longer. You'll also see that that third layer. From a SOC efficiency perspective, this security advisor has been a huge boon for our users. You can see both a natural language summary and a detailed storyline of the alert. Our users love this feature because it enables them to do a quick copy paste and create their management or incident report of the alert rather than typing it up from scratch. So literally saving them potentially more than an hour to type up a report from scratch, right? So let's take a look at and move over to the purple team. Before I dive into one of the examples here, I want to take a moment and just explain some of the columns and detail that you're seeing within the columns. Each of the resulting recipes or scenarios, as we refer to them here, are the result of the red team analyzing the environment and as it continues to continuously, in real time, analyze the environment. So as changes are made to the cloud environment, those are constantly being updated and taken into account by the red team in these simulated attacks against that virtual reality digital twin that we've created. You can see some of the columns I want to just quickly call your attention to is the initial access column will show you some of the methods that we look at and assess within the cloud environment, or where some of the key weaknesses may be and how a malicious actor may breach the perimeter of your cloud. We do things like, you can see here, we will assess open CVEs against the environment. We also integrate, you see some other methods here in terms of code injection and SSRF. We also integrate and will utilize DAS systems as well. So taking this to the application level. And lastly, the thing that I'll point out here is that we also look at the third-party access that has been granted to your cloud environment, looking in particular for supply chain type attacks that may occur. And in fact, that's one of the examples that we're going to take a look at. I also mentioned from an impact perspective, one of the key things or the key things that the red team is looking at in terms of impact in these simulated attacks is specifically focused on data exfiltration and data encryption. And that's where you'll see the focus on all of these attacks. So let's jump right into one of the examples here. This one is a third-party role example. In the first screen, this is where we're literally showing you and connecting the dots between when a malicious actor in the simulated attack breached the perimeter of the cloud. In this case, they were able to assume a third-party role from a third party here that's been granted some access within the cloud. And I'm not going to walk through and read you each of the steps here. You can see this. I think a lot more interesting things to look at within the scenario than just the timeline here. But you can see where they instantiated an EC2 instance, were able to assume other additional multiple roles, finally culminating in access to a database and exfiltrating. We're going to find in more detail exfiltrating data from that database through a new snapshot, a new RDS snapshot that was created. Right, so let's take a look at and move over to the red team tab. This is where things really start to get interesting, where we show you in detail that same step-by-step of the timeline, but in the full attack playbook. Description you can see on the left, the specific for each step, MITRE TTPs in the middle, and finally on the right, the specific and detailed commands that were run or would be run initially in this simulated attack to gain access to the cloud environment in this type of credential attack from a third-party supply chain perspective. And then as we start to move through the cloud, assuming different roles in this case, instantiating an EC2 instance, all of the cloud contextual commands. You have a couple of options here where these commands, you see a copy button here. I can copy any one of the commands singly and run this against my actual live environment if I want to do that in a controlled fashion. We also have the capability where our customer can, using the built-in workflow, can actually schedule any of these simulated attacks to run against your actual cloud environment. You hold the credentials to that. Skyhawk always only has read-only access to your cloud. You hold the credentials to that scheduling of a simulated attack to run against your cloud so that you can coordinate and communicate with the cloud provider and others in the organization to the scheduling of that attack to be run against your cloud. But you can see as we move through here, all of the commands of the full playbook. Again, finally culminating with data extraction from the environment. If I move back up to the top here, one of the key things that we show you as well, I'm going to skip over the blue team tab for a moment and come back to that. But if I take a look at the security advisor, this is where, from an actionability perspective, we point you to not only the detailed storyline or natural language storyline of the simulated attack, but also pointing you to the root cause of the attack, so that some further research and mitigation or remediation of the root cause can help preemptively prevent the attack from ever being able to occur in the future. You can also see some best practice and other more generalized remediation suggestions to the right that are specific in this type of specific attack. If I move now back to the blue team tab, this is where you start to see some of the direct integration between our purple team and our live CDR. Because what we're showing you here within the blue team is what the sequenced alert would look like in this simulated alert were this to be an actual alert in the CDR. The key and powerful use to this is enabling you and giving you the trust and verification of a simulated attack like this to now start to build and test your own auto response playbook to this type of attack, and keying off the different detectors and indicators that you see here within the full alert sequence that would be provided in the case of if this were a real alert. So let me stop there for a moment. This would normally be the time for some Q&A if we were in a live demo, but certainly I'll be happy to answer any questions that you'd like to ask within the webinar screen.
So Gene, a question actually did come in, and it said, does your purple team develop countermeasures like, it says honey bots, but I think they meant honey pots, AI-powered deception detectors designed to neutralize these threats?
Yeah, so great question. So honeypots is on our very short-term roadmap. We're actually getting ready to go into an early customer beta with our honeypot deception techniques that we'll be adding to the purple team within the again in that early release program is set to start at the end of May. So just within a couple of weeks. That's a great question, and one that has come up with our customers as well. So we've been hard at work at developing that. Let me switch real quick before I hand the screen back to you, Jennifer. I just wanted to point out from a reporting perspective, you can also see you have a continuously updated report of your purple team results that you can export the report or certainly share it with any of the other users that have access to the report within our UI. And you'll see, I'm not going to go through and read each of these, but you'll see that in our environment we have a total of 19 attack scenarios. However, associated with those scenarios, the one thing I do want to point out is that not just that single timeline that we saw in the example, almost all of these attacks, because of the way the cloud is so interconnected with different resources, whether it's databases, roles, policies, there ends up being multiple threat vectors. And in some cases, we've seen we've seen with some customers where there can literally be thousands of attack paths within a single attack scenario in the purple team. And we show you all of that visually. We didn't cover it in the demo today, but there is an attack paths view that you have showing you all of those intercorrected along with the checkpoints of the attack as well. So let me stop here, Jennifer, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, perfect. The only thing I'll add on the purple team assessment is that's a document that you can use to communicate with your board of directors and like executive management, because they're like, if you say we resolve 4,000 alerts, they're like, oh, so we're secure, there won't be a breach. You can't really say yes. It just that just speaks to all the work that you've done. But with the purple team assessment, you can see as the attack paths decrease. You can be like, last week we had, 50. This week we have 30. So we have made the cloud more secure. So that's something you can demonstrate to the leadership.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jennifer. You can see the trending actions within the environment of your weaponized exposures.
Okay, great. So we just have a couple more slides. So if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat or in the question Q&A window. So this came up on LinkedIn actually on compensating controls, and found it really interesting because they talked about it takes about 128 days to resolve critical alerts in your CSPM or CNAP platform. So this is not acceptable. Like, threat actors aren't going to wait, be like, oh, they're still working on their CSPM alerts, we'll wait and come back when they're all done. They're not going to say that. So Skyhawk Security helps in two ways. So first, with the purple team, you'll see that output and see what crown jewels are at risk, and you can correlate that back to your CSPM findings and be like, okay, so we have however many alerts, 1,000, but these 50 are putting crown jewel assets at risk. We're going to focus on those. So it helps you prioritize that. But then for the ones that do go unresolved, you do have the CDR, which is going to look at the real-time behaviors and then correlate that into MBIs and then correlate that into the attack sequence and let you know when they're getting close. It'll be an alert so you can stop them so that incident doesn't become a full-blown breach, which can be very embarrassing for your organization. So along with a CNAP or CSPM, we can make it smarter, better, faster, stronger. Okay. So, and then IBEX, this was a webinar we did back in January, and we still have the case study on our website if you want to check it out. But Shlomi Seisler, the CISO for IBEX, talked about how with the purple team just brought him and his organization tremendous value. First, they're accurately prioritizing alerts. I'm sure that many of you have chased an alert and it's been, a marketing person doing something they were supposed to, or someone just trying something new, and you spend 4 hours on that, and that you've just wasted half your day. And I can't imagine how deflating that is. So with Skyhawk, IBEX was like, no, we know when we're working on something, it's because it does actually pose a risk to our business. The pen testing gave him a full view of the issue, so they see everything, even on the outskirts. And the last two bullets are quotes from him in the webinar. So one, he talks about, we're proactive with our cloud security, and that's very hard to do. And we're getting significant hours back in our day. It saves us a lot of time. And when you think about, I'm sure all of you, your day is almost seems unmanageable at times, and getting time back in your day, hours back, to work on projects that are languishing to the sideline because you're dealing with immediate threats. So I thought those are pretty powerful. And this is just kind of an overview, like to close on the platform. So you're focused on the weaponized the weaponized threats to reduce the overall risk profile. You're prioritizing threats to your crown jewels. So you're fixing what matters. We didn't talk about interactive CDR, but if you want to go to our website and check it out, so it incorporates principles of zero trust. So it's a verification on your phone where someone will tag someone and say, hey, saw this happening in the cloud, is that you? And you say, yes, it is. And the platform will still track that attack sequence just to make sure, but it won't prioritize it as an alert. But if you say, that's not me, I don't know what's happening, I'm on vacation in Florida, it'll say, okay, we need to look at this right now. The automated response enables us to deliver MTTR seconds. The context drives collaboration. So the view shows the DevOps team what posture alerts are threatening crown jewels, and then the SOC can help them work together on that. So it gives the context for the DevOps team, for the cloud security team, and for the SOC. So they understand the role. There's not one role that's typically responsible for cloud security. I think that's another thing which makes it so challenging. With Skyhawk, you're able to give the context to those three personas so they understand, okay, now I understand what my role is, I understand why I need to fix this, and I understand why it needs to be done now. And then I mentioned this when Jean showed the purple team assessment that, you can show the trend line. So you can show we are getting more secure. There are fewer attack vectors. So you're able to show that overall. So the next steps, so we talked about the purple team assessment. So that's something we do offer for free. But if you want to really try the product, we offer a free subscription. So you have a free trial for 30 days. You'll get onboarded that'll probably be Jean, to be honest, who onboards you. And then you get the full usage of the product and you can try it for 30 days. So it's quite powerful. So I'm going to stop sharing because I think I did see one more question come through. Here we go. So Jean, I think this is a question for you. So it states, how is the purple team addressing synthetic media attacks, including real-time audio and video deep fakes and social validation traps?
Yeah, so I'd love a little bit more. I'd love a little bit more information on the question, but I'll do the best I can, given that we're not given the format, obviously. In terms of real-time audio and deep fakes and AI type of media, keep in mind that at the top of your head that we're focused on the cloud. So any of real-time audio and video that's contained within your cloud infrastructure, the red team will be assessing and utilizing in its analysis. And in fact, continue to be updating on a real-time basis any changes in the cloud environment. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I also sent them a note with my email, so if they want to email me, we can set up a meeting.
That would be great. Yeah, it would definitely be something I think to follow up on. That's a great suggestion, Jen.
Okay, great. And then one more question did come in, and it's around pricing. We usually get that question. I keep forgetting to put a slide in on that, to be honest. So we price by protected cloud asset, and then we offer volume discounting. So as you get to 1,000, et cetera, we offer discounting. An example of a cloud asset would be like an EC2 instance or S3 bucket. Lambda, a single Lambda, is not a cloud asset. We consolidate that down to, and this is why I need the slide because I can't remember if it's 20 or 50, but it's more, a few, because those are so small within the cloud realm. So let's see another. Okay. So I did not see any other questions come through, and we try to keep these to 30 minutes. We went to 41. So that's great that we had the questions. We're happy to talk with you about the product. We're really excited about the technology. So thank you so much for your time and attention today. Jean, thank you for a fantastic demo.
Thanks, Jennifer, and thanks to all our attendees as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So we'll wrap up the webinar and the recording will be available. Thanks so much and have a great day.